A millionaire walked into his kitchen late at night just to grab a glass of water, but what he saw froze him in place. His maid, someone he'd always thought of as quiet and invisible, was hunched over textbooks, studying intensely. What he did next left her speechless. Subscribe and comment below which city you're from. The mansion of Richard Blake stood like a monument to wealth and solitude, hidden behind tall iron gates and perfectly trimmed hedges. It was the kind of house that had long stopped feeling like a home. The marble floors gleamed with sterile perfection, reflecting more light than they absorbed. Crystal chandeliers, some imported from Vienna, others passed down through generations, hung in every room, their cold sparkle accentuated by recessed lighting. Classical music sometimes played through hidden speakers, but even the works of Rachmaninoff and Chopin felt like an afterthought rather than an invitation. Nothing was out of place, yet nothing truly lived there. Richard Blake, the man who owned this silence, moved through it like a ghost. At 62, he was prim, composed, with eyes that had once been described as piercing, but now seemed more like deep, sealed wells. He wore tailored suits and spoke with precision, even when silence would suffice. Since his wife's death, there had been no guests, no gatherings, no idle chatter. The estate ran like clockwork, maintained by a staff trained to the unseen. Meals appeared on time, rooms were cleaned with surgical precision, and fresh white flowers in silver vases were replaced every 3 days without fail. Amara was the one who arranged those flowers. She was the housemaid, young, soft-spoken, and forgettable in the way domestic workers often are. She moved through the halls like a whisper, never lingering, never speaking unless spoken to. Her uniform, though spotless, was always slightly too big. Her hair was perpetually tied back in a tight bun, and her eyes rarely met anyone's. To Richard, she had been just another cog in the machine, ensuring his life remained undisturbed. Until the night he caught her studying, an accident. He'd woken at 2:15 a.m., restless and thirsty. The house was dark except for a sliver of light under the kitchen door, unusual since the staff retired by 10. Barefoot, he descended the grand staircase, moving slowly out of habit rather than caution. The house's silence was sacred, and even he treaded lightly as if afraid to break it. He expected a forgotten appliance, maybe a fridge light left on. But when he pushed open the kitchen door, he stopped mid-step. Amara was there, not cleaning, not working, but sitting at the marble island under the harsh overhead light. The table was strewn with thick textbooks, a spiral notebook filled with cramped handwriting, and sheets of paper covered in intricate diagrams. She wore an oversized gray sweater over her uniform, sleeves rolled up, a pencil tucked behind her ear. Her brow was furrowed in concentration, lips moving silently as she repeated terms from the page. Medical terminology, he guessed. The titles on the spines of her books jumped out at him. Advanced Human Biology, Fundamentals of Organic Chemistry, Diagnostic Procedures. It was so incongruous, so unexpected, that for a moment he wondered if he was still dreaming. His maid was studying medicine. He cleared his throat, not harshly, but enough to pull her back to reality. She startled, nearly knocking over her tea. Her eyes, wide and dark, met his for the first time. Not with the usual deference, but with the startled intensity of a deer caught in headlights. I'm sorry, sir, she stammered. Standing so fast her stool scraped against the tile. I didn't think anyone would... He raised a hand to stop her. No, it's fine. I just came for water. She nodded too quickly. Of course, sir. I'll leave. Again, he stopped her. You don't have to. A pause. He stepped forward, poured himself a glass from the chilled dispenser, then glanced at her open textbook. What are you working on? She hesitated, fingers knotting together. An entrance exam, she said finally, voice soft. For an online pre-med program. He blinked. You study after work? I can't afford traditional classes, she admitted. But if I pass this, I might qualify for a distance learning scholarship. He looked again at her books. None new, pages dog-eared, margins crammed with notes. A detailed diagram of a kidney, carefully labeled in colored ink, caught his eye. "You want to be a nurse?" he asked. Her chin lifted slightly. Something flickered in her eyes, not defiance, but resolve. "A doctor." He didn't respond, his lips parted, then closed. She stood there exposed, waiting for judgment. But none came. "Don't let me disturb you," he said finally, setting down his glass. Then he turned and walked away. But in the hallway, he paused, staring at the sliver of light under the door. For the first time, he had truly seen her. Not the girl who folded his shirts or polished his tables, but the woman who disappeared into the night to fight for something more. And that changed everything.